Hi everyone, welcome back. It's the last concurrent session we have for today. We'd like to welcome our friends from Indonesia, Mr. Christine Felix. He's from the University of Medan, Indonesia, and he'll be sharing with us a little bit more about project-based learning to help students develop critical learning skills as we face this VUCA world that we have today. So without further ado, I'll hand the time over to Mr. Christian Felix.
Good day everyone, good day the Committee of the STEM Education. Here we are from the State University of Medan student going to discuss about the first represents teacher education's perception of STEM Indonesian, presented by Christian Felix Lalai, it's me, and the Rod Jovanka Fabriani is my partner to going to discuss about the research methodology and in association of the lecture, Ma'am Ellie Julia and PD. Alright, from the first slide, we first talking about the research background about the linkage of step by step the Indonesian curriculum from the first and for the last to adapted the STEM education. The first one is 1947 until 1967 is the first curriculum Indonesian of direction is Rencana Pendidikan. The change of the direction is education is more political in nature, cause there's from orientation from Dutch Netherlands education in the national interest. The focus in this curriculum is not the environmental education, but only character education state in community awareness in accordance amendments of Dutch Constitution. And then in 1964, learning is centered in culture in Indonesia is Pancawardana program, namely the development of moral, intellectual, emotional, or artistic skills. And don't forget the physical development. Next is second curriculum is Suharto first curriculum in 1968 until 2003. This curriculum is a coach all older curriculum, which aims to shape human the manifestation to change the orientation towards the pure implementation curriculum constitution. This curriculum emphasizes on what material is appropriate to given the student at every level education. So, continue from the 1975, this curriculum has MBO education, management by the objective. So, the teaching method is material are objective are detailed. And student is most the objective in system development procedure. From observing something is classifying and the reporting with the college method is student learning method GBSA. And the third is in 2004 is competencies based curriculum CBC or Indonesia KBK was launched to substitute the 1994 curriculum. This program must contain three main elements, namely the selection of appropriate competencies, specification evaluation indicator, and the last the determinant of success competition achievement. And the fourth is the KTSP 2006. This curriculum is required to able to develop their own syllabus. It's through the teacher and the assessment according to the condition and school region. The result of development is compared to true college education in curriculum. Here we go, the TPACK adapted in this 2006 KTSP curriculum. And next, for the last adapted until now, 2020, the 2013 curriculum as the last of maybe for a while until now curriculum that aspect assessment, namely aspect knowledge, aspect and skill, and aspect of the attitude and behavior. In 2013 curriculum emphasizes the importance of subject, namely mathematics and English. This subject are divided by two learning method. Is divided by compulsory and the specialist subjects. In this curriculum as adapted STEM education, maybe not too much, just the how the approach and the learning method. This curriculum should have STEM cause there is a project-based learning models and such F5A learning cycle and low level of inquiry. Learning 5A is the controversies of learning material that's compound the learning cycle brainstorming and student-centered. There's a false and error for the student perception every day student achievement. There's 5 problem identification. The first is the perception of the pre-service teachers about the STEM. The second is the result of that had been done STEM in education. The third is the factor that support in STEM education. The fourth is the TPACK education has had the similarity of the STEM education. And the fifth, for the last, the factor that identity the TPACK education. Including the scope of the problem, in order to make this research become more focused, the research will be discusses about the perception education student with the STEM curriculum and comparing TPACK education based on 2013 curriculum that adapted until now. TPACK as perception pre-service teacher and its story. At the TPACK that emphasizes on how technological knowledge and pedagogical knowledge and the last the content knowledge can be integrated into the lesson which later makes learning effective and successful in a learning context. So what is the TPACK? TPACK is technological pedagogic content knowledge. There's divided by two: technological content knowledge and pedagogical content knowledge. There's a most familiar Indonesian teacher course this built in 2005. The idea of technological pedagogical knowledge as the TPACK appeared formally in Education Journal in 2030, but it began in discussions in 2005. Technological pedagogical knowledge is a framework that integrating the technology teaching research and who was very instrumental in TPACK integration. So the TPACK is basically not curriculum, but is refer to teacher how to teaching material and the content. And the second, the TPACK has amended Indonesian education law. So the education law teaches the teachers of Indonesia had master knowledge in the fields of the science, technology, and art, and including to the culture, with the at least including mastery of the subject matter broadly and deeply accordance with the standard content of education unit programs. This pedagogical knowledge, according to the Indonesian education law in 74 of 2008, teacher a pedagogical competence, which the ability to manage student learning, which the list include understanding education insight of foundation, understanding and developing curriculum as the syllabus. So, if each daily of teaching of teacher Indonesian is write down from the syllabus that have as the history of what they was teaching. And the third, adapted in curriculum KTSP 2006. There's the second of familiar from Indonesian teachers. The TPACK have the tense to adapted cause. The first is attend the lecture related to education technology. The second is using learning strategy that part of the lecture. And the third, using the strategy and child education program. As the example is comparing learning reports for each meeting for the student consideration. There's a goals of and the context of the TPACK. The result of the TPACK is does not produce and demands a project like STEM. So there's maybe daily talks and observation of the environment and not the produce of the project, because that is the TPACK is the weakness if from the student have disabilities. TPACK that's from the teacher is the focus and has 80% the role of learning in 2006 KTSP 2006 curriculum. And the fourth is simple concept and as the learning environment. Talking about the pedagogical content knowledge, there are two major objects make up the pedagogical content knowledge, and that's say according their concept. The content knowledge including the content of concept, theory, ideas, thinking, and frameworks. And the last there's method of the proof and the evidence. Meanwhile, pedagogical knowledge is related to teaching methods and process, which including knowledge about the classroom management, assessment, and learning planning, and the student learning. There is factor that affected STEM education if they are probably 100% adapted Indonesian curriculum. The first issue is the curriculum. STEM education is not absolutely adapted in Indonesian curriculum, so there is adjustment and the design to discriminate. So the result, the student is not according to the class program, felt that most disadvantage to the adaptation STEM. This cause there are probably feel about the comment of the teachers, and the fact the property striking the student is aspirated by strengthened school policies, including that pertain the learning environment, attitude by teacher, and the feel of the student itself. And the second is the lack of the qualified the STEM education teachers. From the evidence, the discussion about the lack of qualified Indonesian had start edge of the science and math teachers, especially the ruler that occurs the furthermore. It may be appearance to the access the school competition is difficult to particularly to in poor rural communities, so that preparation of students for the post-secondary education is adequate and they will be eventually affect the career. Even that the back country of school Indonesia. And the second is the lack of the research. We highlighted that some remote schools have to hurt the problem of lacking qualified staff, the shortage of the textbook, and firm infrastructure that totally absent in of science laboratory. Even the technology, the book is the most poorly education of Indonesia. This case 100% problem on the school at manipulate and left to teach integrated science only. As the result, lack of the deep of the coherent understanding of the subject matter may also limit their entry to engineering, where the subject must be estimated for the instance the ability to design and use order thinking solution. And the fourth is the attitude and student background itself. Basically, the participation of the parents in the education of their children is not consistent due to the attitude, fertility, and the law, the socio-economic, due to the attitude, the property and law status, and do not the participate. The last is the attitude and student background. Basically, of the participation of the parents in the education of their children is not consistent due to the attitude. Discard the property and law socio-economic status and do not participate their children's school activities. So their field is not their job. For the help they have children is not interested too, because basically in religion and the attitudes of their beliefs, economic and social, the environment itself. Like we talking about the TPACK solution as the pre-service teacher STEM. As we can see, there's the scope of the STEM framework have the similarity with the TPACK ones, including that content, pedagogical, and the knowledge. The TPACK have been identified the tenets of to attack learning and approach it. The first one is technological knowledge, is how to operate computer and relevant the software. And second is pedagogical knowledge to ability manage student learning. And the third is content knowledge, that subject matter knowledge such as the mathematics and natural and science. In STEM, there's the third concept. This have been adapted in TPACK, including science, technology, and mathematics, of course. And the TPACK is the fourth is technological content knowledge, about the how the content that be can reach it by references by technological and such using computer simulation and represented by student at movement of the earth course. And the 5 is pedagogical content knowledge, is about the represent and formulate subject that makes understood by the others. And the 6 is the technological pedagogical knowledge, as the technological and facilitated approaches such as the asynchronous and discussion such forum that support the social constructions of knowledge. And the last is the pedagogical content knowledge, and the last 7 is technological pedagogical content knowledge, is knowledge about the how to facilitate learning of the trainings from the certain content through pedagogical and technological approach, so that we know the relationship between the variable of the STEM and the TPACK have been similarity with the ICT-based teachers learning. Maybe the STEM is the good one because they have project-based learning, and the result is project 2. And the question is mainly is the hack-order thinking solution in the STEM, and the TPACK is refer to teacher how to understand learning a material concept.
Okay, about research methodologies for our paper. The study aims to within and investigate the perceptions of pre-service science teachers to the STEM-oriented learning in Indonesia. The sampling technique that we use for our research is using a purposive sampling, that the sample is about 15% of pre-service science teacher and 15% of pre-service biology teacher. The instrument that we use is open questionnaires with consists of 5 questions. The first question is, in your opinion, what are the reasons for the applications of STEM-oriented learning? The second is, will you apply STEM-oriented learning when you become a teacher later? The third question is, are you interested in knowing more about STEM learning? 4 questions is what are the benefits of STEM-oriented learning? And the last question is, what are the obstacles that you face when you apply the STEM-oriented learning? Okay, next is the results of our research that presents in table 1. It represents the answers of respondents in question number 1. And there are 7 reasons or opinion that answers the question number 1. The first one is develop skills in the 20th century. There are 7% pre-service biology teacher answers that, and the second is connecting between science, namely science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and there are 3 pre-service science teachers answer that. And the next opinion is make and developing projects that are useful for the community, preparing students for globalizations, improve students' soft skills, and develop students' ability to solve problems. So based on the questions for the number 1 is a summary of the subject is mostly the pre-service science teacher and pre-service biology teacher answers the reasons why STEM-oriented learning must be applied in Indonesia is to develop skills in the 21st century or 4.0 era. Okay, and the next is the table 2 that represents the answers for this questions number 2. There are some opinions from the pre-service science teacher and pre-service biology teacher, and mostly summary of the subject answers that the STEM-oriented learning, it will make the learning becomes more productive and can improve student abilities in designing products that are in accordance with the material being studied. Next is we interpret the data into a diagram pie. You can see in the purple color is 40% that show us if the STEM learning is easier to link with physics lessons and difficult to connect with biology and chemistry lessons. And the 27% in the blue color, its show up is there is a limited school facilities, so that makes why STEM oriented learning doesn't apply in Indonesia. And in the orange is 13% that show up that STEM learning is time consuming, and the green color, STEM learning is costly, and in the blue young color, it's limited school facilities. So based on the answers of pre-service science teacher and pre-service biology teacher, we can conclude that mostly the reasons why STEM-oriented learning doesn't apply in Indonesia is because not all materials can be easily related to technology, engineering, and mathematics. Next, we move to the table 4. It's based on the table 3 and table 4. Above, pre-service teachers, even science and biology teacher, there are limitations in implementing STEM-oriented learning because there is difficult things that related with the subjects between mathematics, engineering, and science. Okay, next is, so the solutions that we got from the research is pre-service teachers' perceptions can be influenced by the place where they learn and their learning styles. So that's why I think STEM-oriented learning can be viewed differently by each prospective teacher. So to improve the quality of implementing STEM-oriented learning in Indonesia, the first step that can be taken is to identify the view of prospective teachers on STEM educations. So the teacher's perceptions of learning is an important component of content and pedagogical knowledge. Teachers can improve their perceptions and attitudes towards STEM-oriented learning. The conclusion that we got from the research is, in general, both science teacher and pre-service biology teacher have a positive perceptions of STEM-oriented learning, regardless of the existing limitations. Prospective teachers, even in science and biology, are interested in to apply the STEM-oriented learning. Okay, for these reasons, that's why I hope the institutions and university that produce teacher graduates play a role in changing the learning paradigm, like a building content mastery through skill, forming character educators. The data in the study can still be developed and explored more deeply for the upcoming research. So the perceptions of teacher can be used to develop ideas to apply STEM-oriented learning in Indonesia.
Okay, that's all our discussion about pre-service science teacher about STEM perception in Indonesia. There's a beneficial and the weakness ones in TPACK education. If you any question, I would be happy to open and discussion. And thank you for attention. Goodbye.
Hi everyone. So we have made a resolution for this, which is we will record this particular presentation offline, and we'll upload it as soon as we can back on the portal. Just also a note for everyone that all the sessions that you see over the past 2 days, they will be recorded. They have been recorded, and they will be uploaded to the portal as well. So do come back in next week to check out all the recordings as well as the recording for this particular session. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.